up, folks? Hi, guys.
Oh, yeah. I have to approve.
It is 3:04 p.m. on January 11th.
You're a jerk.
And this is evergreen content.
I just told him to look outside at the evergreen trees, the snow-kissed evergreen trees, and take a lesson from them. Did he listen to me? Well, yeah. Did he take my advice? No. And yes, because it's still evergreen.
Oh, Lord.
The wisdom is timeless. Right?
The wisdom is difficult to find.
It's in there. It's in there.
The wisdom is subtle.
Given how much shoveling you've had to do snow-wise in the last few weeks, I think you are expertly trained and prepared to dig the wisdom out of this conversation.
And thank you for qualifying the type of shoveling. I feel like that was important.
I thought that was appropriate.
Yeah. Let's just run with this. This is going great.
Yeah, I love it.
In my opinion.
The people, all two of them, love this stuff. They love this back and forth. Yeah.
Both of our audience.
It's going like hotcake.
Oh, God. Okay, guys, I want to talk to you about something kind of serious. The virtuous versus the vicious cycle of pricing. So this kind of comes from the virtuous versus vicious cycle. It's an old, it's a graphic maybe some of you have seen before if you've ever done any consulting in business, that sort of thing. But this is specifically the virtuous versus the vicious cycle of price. Okay. This comes from my man, Alex Hormozy. He does great work. I want to give credit where credit is due. Nice. Good thinking, Kevin.
Get a little parched, especially here at 3:06 in the afternoon on January 11th. Been talking all day.
On January 11th specifically. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about this. So what we're talking about here is why you should charge unreasonably high prices. And I say that because I want you to be unreasonably successful. And in order to be unreasonably successful, you need to be unreasonably skilled. You need to have unreasonably good talents at what you do, and you need to charge unreasonable prices. So this is what we're looking at here. Kevin, you can see this?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Cool. Coming across. Good. What we're looking at here is reasons why you should increase your price. So let's just kind of go through it. We'll start at this top one. So this is kind of broken down between your clients and your business, right? So your clients, when your price decreases, when your price is low, right? When you're meeting kind of an efficient market, right? As people come in, they're going to do a little bit more, deliver a little more value for a little less price, right? And that creates efficient markets. As you decrease your price, you're also decreasing your client's emotional investment, right? Because they're less, you're going to be less emotionally invested when you spend less on something. This is science. This is behavioral science. This is not, this is not guesses. Just a real quick, the example that comes to mind real quickly is the wine experiment. I don't remember how long ago it was done. I want to say not that long ago, maybe 15 years ago. Cheap, mid-range and expensive wine in nameless bottles were given to basically like a blind taste test, right? But they could see the bottles. They saw like, this is the cheap wine, this is the mid-priced wine, and this is the expensive wine. And this group of double-blind tasters basically were asked to rate the wines from best to worst. Well, to no one's surprise, the cheap wine.
Have you gotten into the cheap wine today already, Michael?
What is happening to my mouth? I'm sorry, guys.
It's all that $7 Shiraz.
Good Lord. Oh, Shiraz, that is the worst.
I know.
What's happening here? Okay.
Oh, I just lost your screen share. There it is.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm back.
Right.
So to no one's surprise, the cheap wine was rated the worst. The mid-range wine, mid-range priced wine was rated mid-range, and the expensive wine was rated the best. What's the catch? If you haven't guessed by now, it was the same wine in all three bottles, the exact same wine in all three bottles. So you are just only by increasing your price, you are literally scientifically delivering more value to your clients. That's just fact. Mm-hmm. That is, you can't argue with that. It's just fact. So by having a more expensive product, you are actually in your customer's head, in your clients' minds, you're delivering more value. So
think about the way we talk about it in our language. We talk a lot about buy-in. Whenever anybody's committing to something, that terminology it's pervasive all across the English language. When you have buy-in for something, it means someone's invested. They invested. Look at the term invested. We use that term emotionally at least as much as we use it financially. It's because those things are extremely tied together in the way that you're talking about. It's just it's all out there for you. It's laying right there. It's just you don't usually think about it in these terms, and it's important because it could be hard to translate that dollar value to the kind of emotional investment like we're looking at right here that you need from your clients.
Totally. Yeah. And if you can't tell, Kevin and I are emotionally invested in this conversation because this is really important stuff. This is important stuff. And it's fun. And Kevin and I are both kind of analytical and kind of nerdy, and we like to geek out on this kind of stuff. So when you decrease your price, you literally decrease their emotional investment. Okay. They're not bought in as much. That decreases the perceived value, right? Which decreases their results. If they're not bought into what you're doing, they're not going to assist. They're not going to help. They're not going to drive their own, right? With our clients, with Boxer's clients, we have the most success with clients who are A players, right? You can't just hire an agency to do your marketing for you and then sit back and relax. Wouldn't that be nice?
I mean, there is some relaxation because so many things are taken care of, but you can't do nothing. You can't literally put your hands behind your back. There's a level of investment, of engagement that's required just to get things and keep things at that A level that we all want and need to play at.
100%. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can't, the idea, obviously, when you hire an agency, the things get taken off your hand. At Boxer, what we try to do really is our primary idea is to save you tons of time, right? Get you more leads, get your marketing out there and save you lots of time. But you still have to be on your game. You got to create your content. You got to talk to your prospects, right? You got to sell, so on and so forth. So with decreased results comes an increase in your client's demandingness. Not totally convinced that's a word, but it might be. If you've been in the coaching game, if you've been in business for longer than 12 months, I probably don't have to tell you that the clients that pay you the least are the most demanding. And I believe that is true across the board. I don't care what industry or sector you're in. I don't care what industry or sector you work in. I think that is just true across the board. So yeah. It's certainly true. I've certainly seen it before. So, and as your client's demandingness increases, the revenue for fulfillment per customer decreases as well. Of course, that's also just a natural. So you can see this is basically a cycle, right? Well, it says right here, cycle. Yeah. See that? Right, it says cycle right there. If you guys are listening to this, we're looking at an image, so you should go to YouTube and watch the video.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a screen sharing component. We're hilarious to look at our facial expressions, so you should, if for no other reason than that, you should definitely be watching this on YouTube.
Also, extremely handsome. Just weirdly. No.
It is weird, isn't it?
It's mostly just weird. Mostly just weird. I should stop there. Okay, so here this goes down and it goes up on the other side, right? So again, this is a cycle, and the exact opposite is true. As you increase your price, you increase your client's emotional investment. That increases their perceived value. It increases the results. If you're wondering about the results, then let me try to explain it to you this way. Think about it like this. As a vendor, if you're being paid more for product X or service X, right? It's really a service. As you're being paid more for servicing a client, whatever that means to you, wink, wink, you have more financial, you literally have more financial resources to service that client. You can hire, which means you can hire better people. You can pay for better software. You can get more expensive subscriptions to things that you need. You have more money. That's resources, right? That's literally what it is. It's just resources. So the higher your prices, the better results you will get. Again, this is not a guessing game. Help me out here, Kevin? What's a good word that I'm looking for? This is fact. This is not.
It's not conjecture or conjecture. Yeah.
Kevin's a smart guy.
That's why we're here for each other.
We're here for each other. Michael talks until he runs into a wall, and Kevin adjusts course.
I'll bring the out of the box vocabulary, and you bring the weird handsomeness. I feel like we balance each other well.
Nice. Okay. So as your price increases, results increase. Demanding this decreases, right? So again, if your price goes down, demanding this increases. As your price goes up, demanding this decreases. Why? Because your client is emotionally invested. So they're spending more time working on the same stuff that you're working on. They want to succeed more because they're literally investing more money into it, which gives them emotional investment. This is all it's really kind of common sense when you think about it, but I love the way that this is laid out as a framework. Mm-hmm. So anyways, so price goes up, demanding this decreases. And then of course, revenue for fulfillment per customer increases as well. Again, this kind of goes back to just increasing price. You're going to have more money. More money equals more stuff.
I think you've hinted at it or hit right on it a couple of different times in this conversation. How money is just a version of resources.
It's
kind of like what demanding this is about too, because demanding this decreasing means that you have more time. Which talk about valuable resources, which you can then convert into more money. You can convert into more time. You can convert into new coaching products. It's just resources for you to be able to reinvest in yourself and your business, which then is a reinvestment in your client base, who invests back into you with these nice prices. It's like this image points out, it is a virtuous cycle.
Yeah. And I want to go back to the idea of time that you just mentioned, Kevin. Think about it this way, guys. Time is the only finite resource. I know that's maybe not technically true, but for the most part, we live in a pretty goddamn abundant world. There's plenty of everything. There's more money in circulation now than there has ever been in the past. Money is infinite, right? For all intents and purposes, money is infinite. Time is really the only finite resource that you have. Doing all of this stuff, decreasing your client demanding this, increasing your results, right? Having more money, increasing your price, having more money, having more financial resources to hire better people, to buy better software. You're buying time. Mm-hmm. And that's your finite thing, right? That's you want to go hang out with your family. You want to go to, Tijuana, whatever you want to do. You got time to do it now, baby.
And something I've in some of my conversations with coaches, it's also that quality of time as well. Mm-hmm. Just a time, while definitely being the universal finite resource, there's also a wide range in the quality of that time. And that's not just quality time, like saying like that's time away from your job and with your family, because that's of course quality time, but there's also the quality of time that you spend with your clients. Mm-hmm. You get more out of it. They get more out of it. You have more to give, not from an amount perspective, but just from the kind of quality of time that you have to invest. You're not racing to put out fires. You're not constantly trying to make, too inexpensive, not very effective software work for, whatever course you're trying to put together, or, your computer keeps breaking and so you can't record videos for your clients, or whatever it happens to be. The ability of this, like chasing this virtual cycle, is that you get not just more time, more of that finite resource, mm-hmm. but the quality of it increases as well. And it's just, it is the definition of an exponential increase in success, I think. Like not just a virtuous cycle, but an upward spiral.
It's yeah. So yeah. I mean, in marketing, we call it a flywheel, right?
Yeah,
Because it
exactly.
kind of feeds into itself, and it's a cycle. It's literally a cycle. Um, so yeah, and that's a great point, Kevin. We're not just talking about quantity of time. We're talking about quality as well. So it's a 1-2 punch there. Okay, I think we've talked that one into the ground. Let's move on to your business, right?
Yes.
Again, so we'll start with price decrease again. When you decrease your price, guess what? Your profit decreases.
Just math. Mind blown. Bank account blown.
As your profit decreases, your perceived value, your self value decreases because you're taking in less money, right? There's it's not really even, I mean, it's kind of unconscious, but it's a sense of perceived self value that decreases. And conversely, again, as always with all of this, that will increase as you increase your prices because and here's, let me talk about it this way. As you decrease your price and you get customers, your perceived value of self decreases in relation to the price that you're selling your services for. And here's why. Because especially as a coach, it's really kind of works for any business, but let's put it in the frame of coaching, right? Because that's what we're all here for. So especially in the sense of coming at it as a coach, I need you to be quiet, sweetheart. Can you go lie down? She wants to.
Oh.
She wants food.
Oh.
Good girl. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, guys. I've got hungry puppies, but it's still 40 minutes before they get to eat. Anyways, I apologize. I got derailed there for a second. People will tend to, and not everybody, most people will tend to attach a price to their self-value, right? If someone is willing to, pay for your services, your coaching services for $500, that you tend to attach that price tag to your services. And coaching is a very personal business, right? It's you helping a client or a group of clients perhaps. And conversely, again, if someone is willing to pay $20,000 for your services, that's a very different frame of reference to what your time is worth, right? You feel that inside. Most people tend to attach that price to themselves, right? And so hopefully that kind of explains that one a little bit more. Perceived value of self, perception of impact and results tend to decrease as your price decreases. And again, this kind of comes up to here with emotional investment a little bit. You're just less invested, right? Because it's not as much money, not as much of an impact, not as many resources. The service levels of your business decrease as you decrease your price.
Yeah. Back
to the money thing, back to resources. You literally have less resources. And your sales team conviction decreases. Because if you think about it, I like to kind of think about it from the converse perspective. It's a little bit easier for me, at least, maybe not for you guys, but for me at least, to think about it where, if a salesman is selling a product that costs $500 or the exact same product for $20,000, which one is he going to feel more conviction for?
Yeah.
Probably the $20,000 product, right? Or service.
Probably. Or at least demonstrate more conviction, if not actually feel it deep in their bones. No, but almost certainly it's like we're talking about that very, like, it's such a high wire concept, worth. Mm-hmm. There's so high, there's so many forces kind of pushing and pulling at you. And that's why I think it was really wise of you to emphasize how tricky it can be, and how unconscious it can be sometimes, how the price that you put on, the monetary value you put on your coaching, it interacts with your sense of self and the sense of self of your business in such tricky ways. It's very hard to stay aware of, which is why it's so important to be aware of this cycle, because you could, before you know it, find yourself at a much lower perception of your own worth. Your business is less impactful. The people that you work with, just that they're not feeling it. Morale gets low. That's that's kind of right there, a cousin to that sales team conviction. This general morale gets a little bit lower, and that can happen in a flash without you being aware of it if you're not being very careful to perceive these cycles and also to value yourself and your business correctly, which usually, and I would say always, means a higher price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to circle back real quick to something you said at the beginning of that, Kevin, which was the salesperson would demonstrate conviction, if not feel it in their bones. I disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree, and that's because this is a flywheel. And I think, and I would argue that if you increase your prices, you're also going to increase your results. You're going to increase the service levels. The salesman is going to know all of this, right? Because they go into battle out there. They go and they talk to prospects with case studies. And if your price is high and you have resources to hire the best people, to buy the best software, and you're getting the best results, the salesman is going to know that, and he will feel that conviction, even if he doesn't at first, right? Maybe you raise your prices and he's demonstrating conviction at the beginning, but again, it's a flywheel, and it feeds into itself, and it feeds into itself. And as you continue down that path of increasing your prices, you're hiring better and better people. You've got more and more financial resources. You're getting better and better results, and the salespeople will know that. And if they're not feeling it in their bones, then you need to fire them and find another salesperson.
Well, also, I would push back in this one way too. This is assuming that you have buy-in for like the impact of your coaching. Like the people that you work with, who work for you, believe in you. Like they believe in what you're doing, what you're putting out there. That also needs to be a key component. And that it kind of goes without saying, because you kind of assume that because you've got them on your team in the first place, they're there for a reason. They've quote unquote bought in to your coaching, and they're a part of your team, and they believe in the impact that you can have in the world. And so that combined with this correct financial value of your coaching and your service products allows that conviction to be present and be strong.
Totally. And to that end, I think looking at this pricing cycle, there are a lot of assumptions here, right? There's an assumption that your clients are ideal clients. You're not going to want to go find some jerk who's a terrible client, right? They're not going to, a terrible client can pay $1 million. They're still not going to be emotionally invested because they're not a good client for you. Yeah. And same thing with team. Like if you have a team, you want A players. And again, the idea is if with more money, more resources, increase your prices, you can afford to hire better people. You still have to do that.
Which is a whole other can of worms. Hire,
right? But the point of this conversation, and let's try and keep it within that scope of the pricing cycle, where this kind of the idea with this is that as your price goes up, there's positive feedback. And it snowballs, both for your business and for your clients up here on the top part. So that's what I got, guys.
A lot of now in my as a mid 40 something gentleman, I'm more of a fan of the downward spiral, but that's more of a musical taste. And for me, the virtuous, the upward spiral, I'm all about that. That's what I'm here for.
What about further down the spiral?
I actually am a big fan of further down the spiral. Yeah. But also, again, I want to make sure that, as I've become more enlightened, still a fan of the downward spiral and even going further in the downward spiral, but I'm on that upward turn. I just wanted to put that out there into the world.
Hot take. And you and I have talked about this before, Kevin, but we haven't talked about it publicly. The Fragile is one of the best hip hop albums of the last 30 years.
On my Spotify Wrapped, for this year, for the year of our Lord 2021, 6 tracks off the Fragile were on like my top 50 list. It's good. It's timeless.
And it's a hip hop album.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, industrial fans. The Fragile is a hip hop album.
You don't sound sorry.
It is, and I'm not. It's one of my favorite all-time albums. It's so good. It's so good. Beautiful. That's it, guys. Thank you, both of you, for watching. You've been wonderful. Leave a comment down below. Tell us hi. We're very lonely online. As far as I know, nobody watches these except for you.
Give us a shout out. Let us know you're out there.
Kevin, anything else before we wrap up, bail out?
I think inspired by that drop of the Fragile, we're all in this together. So deep cut for those of you who might have that track list.
I love it. All right. Peace.